Ohai. Memphis, the ancient Egyptian city which was located at a boundary of the Top and Lower Egypt on the west bank of Nile. I existed since the beginning of the 3rd millennium BB and to the second half of the 1st millennium AD. Localization in the territory of modern Egypt, the area near the city of El Badrashain and the settlement Mifrikina, to the south from the city of Cairo in the governorate Cairo. Probably, I could be in a little to the north of the specified territories. Since the beginning of the 3rd millennium BB, Memphis became the center of the Nizanipitski Buheds scepter in Buheds. During the Greek-Roman period, the Memphis number was called, and probably the all-Egyptian capital throughout the periods of early and ancient kingdoms. The 29-22 century BB. After the Amarnsky period. The 14th century BB. Short time Memphis was the official capital of ancient Egypt. One of two. Again. Thanks to the exclusive geographical location, I was an important strong point of various pharaohs and also the first city of ancient Egypt, which had the nature of the big cosmopolitan center where the great number of strangers lived. Syrians, Phoenicians, Greeks and Jews. This city is known for the funeral and temple complexes surrounding it, pyramids, necropolises and temples. In Abuser, Giza, Saqqara, Dashur. In Memphis there was a considerable center of honoring of god Tak, and the related cult of a bull of Apis prospered. Originally ancient city was called in Buheds. White walls. There is an assumption that the ancient Greek word Egyptos, Egypt, is formed from one more of names of Memphis, Huthat birds. This name meant the temple of Tak. At ancient Egyptians, Huthat birds at first was the name of the Memphis sanctuary of god creator Tak, past addressed to the city, and over time become a name of surrounding area. Sept. And later, from the name of this area, ancient Greeks extended the version of the name to all ancient Egypt. 294. Also the city was known under the name Antkai, life of two lands, and Mekhatkawi, uniting two earths, that emphasized his strategic situation on border between the Top and Lower Egypt. The ancient Greek name Memphis probably is an Alanizirvani form on behalf of a pyramid of the pharaoh Pepi. The 6th dynasty. Main Nefer strong fine. Pepi's pyramid. For the first time the name Main Nefer meets at ancient Egyptians in the inscription made in the period of government of the pharaoh Yakhmos of I. The 18th dynasty. But probably it was used in much earlier. Romans adopted the Greek name of the city. In Latin the city was called also Memphis. In the period of the early Middle Ages, Copts had the name of the city, conformable with ancient to Menthe, Mem, etc. The name of the city among modern researchers, according to the Greek Arab nomenclature of toponyms accepted in Egyptology, Memphis. The city of Memphis is on the west bank of Nile, in 20 km to the south from Cairo. The modern cities of Mifrikina, Dashur, Abuser, Abu Ghraib and Zawiat El Arian are in administrative borders of historical Memphis. The city was also the place designating border between the Top and Lower Egypt. The 22nd number of the Top Egypt and the first number of Nizhny Novgorod of Egypt.
Memphis served as the capital at 8 replaced dynasties of the ancient kingdom and reached blossoming at the 6th dynasty as the center of worship of God of creation, the bird.
The alabaster sphinx at an entrance to his cult temple was considered as a symbol of force and prestige of the city. A divine triad of Memphis espoused Sekhmet, the new kingdom, and their son Nefertum made birds. With growth of power of the city of Thebes of Memphis, I lost the former influence, but I rose up Persians. During the Roman period, Alexandria remained the main Egyptian town. Memphis reserved value, the second most important among the Egyptian cities, to foundation in 641 of Fustat. Memphis was gradually abandoned and turned into a stone quarry for the next settlements. In the 12th century there were impressive ruins of ancient buildings here, but after them became less. Gradually the city collapsed.
In the first centuries of Christianity, Memphis was the center of the diocese of the same name.
Now is the titular diocese of the Roman Catholic Church. According to Manethan, the first pharaoh who united the top and lower Egypt means founded the capital on coast of Nile. He ordered to construct a dam, to change the direction of the bed of the river flowing near the city, and on the place of the filled up old bend, to build the city. The Greek historian Herodotus, someone told a similar story, claimed that during his visit to the city the Persians dominating there at the time paid much attention to these dams to save the city from annual floods. Legendary means his historicity is disputable. He can be identical to Narmer. Someone is represented on Narmer's palette. The 31st century BB. In 2012 on Sinai, the record demonstrating visit of Memphis by the Todanastichesky pharaoh Irihorem is found. As Irihor lived for 2 generations to Narmer, the last couldn't be the founder of Memphis. In the Greek mythology, Memphis was called in honor of the queen Memida, Epiphanes' wife. The sun Zeus and Io, who allegedly founded the city. Little it is known of the city in the period of the ancient kingdom. According to Manethan, the first rule of Menes passed in Tanis, to the south from later the founded Memphis. Here Menes ordered to build so-called white walls. In BD, probably, Menes constructed fortress here to control the lower and top Egypt.
The Golden Age at the 4 dynasties strengthened a position of Memphis as main residence of pharaohs who were crowned by a double crown and celebrated a tail holiday.
Had said. In the main temple, the bird. Early certificates of these ceremonies are found in Dusser sanctuaries. In the period of the ancient kingdom, the clergy of the temple, the bird develops. The temple is mentioned in the chronicles which remained on the Palermo stone. Names of high priests of Memphis are mentioned.
Most likely, Provost Vyashikov was 2, and they worked in couple prior to the beginning of government of the pharaoh of the Ont.
Having stretched on many kilometers, Memphis represented then the ancient megalopolis with the temples and Tamanosa, ports connected by roads and canals. The bird temple complex remained the downtown. At the beginning of the average kingdom, the capital and the yard of the pharaoh moved to Thebes in the south, having left Memphis for a while in a shadow. Though the center of the political power was displaced, Memphis remained the influential shopping and cultural center. What finds in tombs to the west of the temple the bird testify to. Amenhotep I ordered to establish a big granite table for sacrifices in honor of the bird. Amenemhet III constructed in Memphis northern gate of the temple the bird. Herodotus and Diodor demonstrate to it. Modern archaeological excavations confirm certificates of historians. Understand Flinders I found ruins of gate in Memphis. Mastaba of high priests are near pyramids of pharaohs that says that in Memphis spiritual and temporal power was strongly connected. Some pharaohs of the 13th dynasty were buried in Saqqara that shows love of an imperial dynasty to Memphis. With invasion of Hyksos into Egypt, Memphis got to a siege. After occupation of this city, many monuments and statues were destroyed or damaged by Hyksos. Some statues were transferred to Avaris. The 18th dynasty could expel aggressors from Egypt.
Amenhotep II and Thutmose IV didn't deprive Memphis of attention, though the center of political force of Egypt all the same remained in the south.
Memphis in the period of the New Kingdom continued the strengthening, in many respects because of the strategic position. The Port Nefer port became gate to Babel and Levant. Memphis became the center of education of princes and children of the nobility. Amenhotep II, who was born and grew up in Memphis, became Semite, the high priest of Nizhny Novgorod of Egypt. Here Amenhotep Thutmose, son of four, saw a dream about the Sphinx. Foundation of the Temple of Astarte, which Herodotus mistakenly called the temple devoted to Aphrodite, can be dated time of board of the 18th dynasty. Most likely the basis was constructed at the pharaoh Amenhotep II.
One more remarkable example of art of times of the New Kingdom in Memphis is the temple Nabmatra integrated with Tak. The location of this temple is still unknown, but it is truly known that the quartzite used for construction of Nabmatra integrated with Tak was used by Ramses II in the process of construction of the Temple the Bird. Some Egyptologists consider that the Temple the Bird was built on the place of Nabmatra integrated with Tak.
According to the inscriptions found in Memphis, Akhenaten founded in the city the Temple of Aton. Burial of one of priests of this cult is found in Saqqara. Tutankhamun transferred the capital of Egypt from Akhenaten to Memphis. In Memphis, Tutankhamun began to restore temples and pagan traditions after Atonism crash. Graves of important officials of times of Tutankhamun, such as Horemheb, the commander of army at Tutankhamun the pharaoh, and Maya, the treasurer at Tutankhamun the pharaoh, are buried in Saqqara, though Horemheb was to Valley of the Kings. At Ramses II, the city became stronger, even stronger, and gained bigger value in the political sphere, thanks to proximity of the city to the new capital of the Elaine Ramses. The pharaoh created a set of monuments in Memphis. At Merneptah, Ramses II's successor, the palace and a southeast wall of the Temple the Bird was built. Memphis doesn't undergo decline during the third transition period in Egypt. At Sheshenkai, the founder of the 22 dynasty, the front yard and a pole of the Temple the Bird were built. Sheshank also enjoined to construct a shrine for Apis in Memphis. At the 22 dynasty in Memphis, the necropolis for high priests was also constructed. It included a chapel, the Devoted Bird. It was constructed by Sheshank, Usorkhan II's son.
During the third transition period and the late period, Memphis often is the place of fight of the Egyptian dynasties against Kushite, Assyrians and Persians.
The triumphal campaign of the governor of Kushite Pianki led to creation of the 25th dynasty, which capital was in Napet. Caning Pianki of Egypt was recorded on the victory stele in Amon's temple in Jebel Barkal. After capture of Memphis, it restored the temples and cults destroyed or forgotten during government of Libyans. His successors are known for construction of chapels in a southwest corner of the Temple de Bird. In 671 BC, the Assyrian Tsar Assarhaddon, with assistance of the Egyptian princes, occupied the city of Memphis. The Assyrian troops plundered Memphis and killed a great number of civilians. Assarhaddon returned to Nineveh with rich production. After Assarhaddon's leaving in Egypt, the revolt against Assyrians began. In Assyria, Ashurbanipal became the new Tsar and resumed offensive at Egypt. During Massachusetts' invasion in 664, the city of Memphis was plundered again, and the pharaoh Tanataman was pursued in Nubia and broke that finally put an end to Kushit's board over Egypt. The power came to the 16th dynasty, which, being afraid of invasion of Assyrians, restored and even strengthened constructions in the city. What the palace built by Apri testifies to. Egypt and Memphis were captured by Cambyses in 525 BC. After fight at Pelusium, Memphis became the administrative center of recently defeated satrapy. The Persian garrison was established in the city, probably in a big northern wall, near the Apri Palace. Within nearly 1.5 centuries, the city remained the capital of the satrapy of Egypt, officially becoming one of the centers of trade in the extensive territory won by the Achaemenid monarchy. In 404 BB, Amir Shah rises against Persians and is Egypt again independent. But in 399 BB, Nefert of I, the founder of the 29th dynasty, overthrows Amurti and executes him. Nefert transfers the capital to Mendes, and Memphis loses the value in political arena, but keeps the positions in the religious and economic sphere. At Nectanebe, the large program of restoration of temples for the whole country was begun. In Memphis, the new powerful wall for the Temple de Bird was constructed, temples and chapels in the temple complex were built. 2. Continuing work of the predecessor, I began to build big sanctuaries, especially in Saqqar's necropolis, decorating them with poles, statues, paved roads and the leveled ranks of sphinxes.
He concedes to Massachusetts' invasion of Persians in 343 and got beaten in Pelusium.
Nectanebe II receded on the south to Memphis, which the Tsar Artaxerxes of III besieged, having forced the pharaoh to flee to the top Egypt and, eventually, to Nubia. The pharaoh Hababash could only exempt Memphis from Persians, but Darius III suppressed a revolt. Since then, Memphis didn't become the capital of Egypt anymore. In 332 BB, Alexander of Macedon captures Memphis. In 332 BC, Alexander the Great became a pharaoh. He was crowned in Memphis. The city kept the high status. After Alexander of Macedon's death, his body was brought to Memphis. Later, Ptolemaeus of II will take out Alexander's body to Alexandria. During board of a dynasty Ptolemy, Memphis gradually falls into decay. The Memphis decrees were issued in 216 and 196 years BC. By Ptolemaeus of IV and Ptolemaeus of V respectively. Delegates of hieratic priesthood gathered under patronage of the high priest of the temple abode in the presence of the pharaoh to establish religious policy of the country for many years, also establishing new collecting and taxes.
These decrees were engraved on steels in 3 languages to be clear to all.
The most known of these steels are Irezetsky stone, which allowed to decipher ancient Egyptian writing in the 19th century. With the arrival of Romans, Memphis, as well as Thebes, forever gave way to Alexandria, which became the center of Egypt. Emergence of a cult of Serapis, the syncretic deity, the most suitable for mentality of new governors of Egypt, and emergence of the Christianity which deeply took roots in Rome meant full breakdown of ancient cults of Memphis. During the Byzantine and Coptic periods, the city gradually fell into decay and eventually stopped the existence.
And he turned into a stone quarry from which stones from ancient constructions were used for construction of new settlements nearby, including the new capital founded by Arabs who took Egypt in the 7th century of our era.
First at Bases and then in Cairo, were built of stones from the sorted temples and an ancient necropolis of Memphis. In the 13th century, the Arab chronicler Abi Latif ibn Yusuf, having visited this place, I described and I testified greatness of ruins. Whatever huge were the sizes and antiquity of this city, despite frequent change of the power, whose yoke it bore, and unhuge efforts, which were made not by one nation to destroy it, to wipe out his last trace, to carry away stones and materials of which it was constructed, to spoil statues which decorated him. Without looking at last at everything that more than 4,000 years made besides the person.
These ruins still offer the contemplators look the Massachusetts of miracles which confuse feelings and where the most skillful masters of a feather have to fail in attempt to describe him.
The more deeply we behold this city, the our admiration grows more, and each new view on ruins is a new source of delight. Ruins of Memphis take half a day of a way in all directions. Though 2 days remains nothing in comparison with what was attested Arab historian his certificates inspired for work of many archaeologists.
The first researches and excavation of the 19th century and also extensive work of Flinders of Pitry could show former glory of the ancient capital a little.
Memphis and its necropolis, including funeral rocky tombs, mastaba, temples and pyramids, were entered in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List in 1979. In 1979, necropolises of Memphis, Saqqara, Abuza, Dasha and Giza were included by UNESCO in the list of World Heritage Sites. On April 20, 2015, the Russian archaeologists found legendary white walls of Memphis. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.